Hey everybody, this is Mehran, and I hope you're having a lovely time. I was out and about in the town trying to run some errands, and I thought to myself this would be a good opportunity to tell a very interesting story, to talk a little bit about my complicated past with the bass guitar, with the bass instrument, and as well as some bass players. So I think it's been a couple of years since I used this intro, but yeah, it's story time. So I've been thinking about some of the details of this story time, of the story that I'm going to tell. I could be misremembering certain events, so take some of the things I say as a small amount of inaccurate, because I'm talking about things that happened over a decade ago. Some like the first one is going to be like roughly 20 years ago, which does not make me feel good. But hey, we're here. The weather is gorgeous, so let's begin at the beginning. So the year is 2008 or 7, I could be wrong. Like it's a long time ago, 2008. I think I want to say 2007 or 2008. And through some events that I may talk about later in a different video, I was given the task of writing and producing my first music album. It was supposed to be a full length. I thought of an EP first, but they said, "Hey, you got the talent. You can do it." It was a French album. It's my first French album, right? And so remember, this is me being 17 years old or 16 years old, and at that time I didn't have my own proper guitar. I had like a computer keyboard. I think it was a Creative. I think it was Creative, the brand of it. If I can find the picture, you'll see it here. It was a computer keyboard that attached to it was like a 2 or 2.5 octave MIDI controller with horrible delay. Like that was like my entire production suite, and a ton of pirated stuff. Like this is the time that I did not purchase anything. I couldn't even afford buying a lot of stuff. So like I was using Cubase 3, and my main suite of instrument, my main instrument thing was Hypersonic 1, I think, and virtual drums. I forgot which one was. I think it wasn't Easy Drummer. It was one of those like virtual instruments that you can see, like program drums, which I just used the loops of. I didn't know how to write anything. And my bass guitar sample was, I don't remember its name exactly. I think it was Virtual Bassist. So just to reiterate, everything I'm talking to you about is a bunch of pirated software and plugins and everything. And for whatever reason, I was able to manage to get everything to work but the bass guitar. Like whatever happened, every 2 or 3 times that I would run the virtual bass plugin thing, we would write a bunch of lines, we would record a bunch of lines, save the project, get out of the project. When it go back into the project, what happens? The bass doesn't load, or it loads back in its like demo trial state. Like every 30 seconds or so, it would like stop working or run some kind of a weird noise in the project. It was unusable. So this was like my first attempt, my first iteration with bass guitar. So ultimately what I did was I think we would like export segments and segments of the songs so that like the bass, like the virtual bass instrument wouldn't crash the entire project. It was a very funny thing, but I was 16 or 17 years old. Everything was crappy. The sound was horrible. We did manage to get a good, decent running sound for the whole album. We did try to manage to create like a whole cohesive project, like an audio project for the whole thing. And I still have the album up on Spotify and everywhere else. The album is called Avec les Anges, or it translates to With the Angels. And it was like my first official foray into professional, whatever it meant, music scene. I don't remember how much we spent, because God knows we didn't spend anything on instruments or the program, but for making the CDs and for the events and the posters and everything, it was quite a heavy penny. It was like quite a lot of money. But we lost all of it. Like we lost pretty much 95+% of our entire initial budget on this project. But hey, we did something. We finished the songs. We finished the album. It sounds very bad if you listen to it today. And if you do, please let me know, because I think I'll really be interested in your honest an unfiltered opinion. Like I said, I don't listen to those songs anymore. That's how bad it is. I don't listen to my songs in general, but that album specifically. Anyway, moving on to event number 2. So moving on to case number 3. So I'm fast forwarding several years, and I'm going to talk to you about I guess the band that I was a part of. All right, so fast forward several years to the time that we decided to create a group, to create a band, and we became a very dedicated music band. We would rehearse every week, day in, day out. Everything was good. It was me, a couple of my buddies from high school, and a couple other buddies that we found through some friends who knew people. It was a really good vibe. It was a very nice environment. So we get booked. We're ready for the first show. It was like a big show because we released one single, and that single blows up to a point that everybody knew us for, I'd say, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks. We were the talk of a town. And so that naturally what we do is we try to book as many gigs as possible. One of the places says yes to us. We say, all right, let's do this thing. We prepare, we get ready, and at the time, our band is, we are 6 people in the band. I play the guitar and I sing. We have a second guitar, lead guitar. We have a bass guitar. We have drums. We have keyboards, and we have a back vocalist. And the back vocalist was, at the time, the girlfriend of the bass player. We get ready to do the thing. We make posters. We do everything. And the morning or the day before the show, I think, we receive a message from some high up people in the government that they canceled the show. And among the reasons that they canceled the show was, at the time, you're not allowed to have solo female singers in the band. Keep this in mind. I come from the country in the Middle East, and so that is an Islamic country by the definition. It's a religious country, so it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing about women singing and everything. We thought back vocalists would be okay. Apparently it wasn't. And even though this is not a problem with the bass player, it's linked to that position. Does it make sense? Needless to say, when everything gets ready for us, we clear our name, we make sure nothing is wrong, we have no problems with anybody. We book our first real show, and like 10 days before that, the couple, the bass player and the girl, they tell us that they're leaving the country. They've decided to immigrate. They've decided to go to Austria, which is that way. And naturally, this is a good thing. People are moving on. People have found their place. We wish them luck, but that kind of creates a problem for our sets of shows, because by that time we had become a little bit more known or famous or whatever you want to call it, thanks to the cancellation of our first show. And we are like a month away from our next gig. We don't have a bass player. Side note, by the way, the back vocalist I told you about, she moves to Austria after a couple of years. She actually creates her own metal band, and it is an incredibly successful band. I don't want to name drop in this video, that's why I'm not like naming any people, but my point is that she had a very happy ending. Hell yeah. And the bass player himself, I don't exactly know what happened. I know that they broke up. I think the guy became a front of a house sound guy for local bands. I could be wrong, but this is what I remember from like our conversations, because it's been a while since we spoke. Anyway, let's now talk about the next encounter. As I was telling you, we are like a month before our show. We don't have a bass player because they moved to a different time zone and like a zip code and everything. So we're looking to essentially get a hired gun. Essentially, we try to look for. There's a baby crying. Side note, I speak a bunch of languages. I don't know what that language is that the kid is crying in. So we're looking to hired guns. We're looking to people that we can actually pay to come help us with the show. We find somebody who is extremely famous in our country. We book him. We say, hey, here's the situation. He tells us, no worries, I got you. The date actually works for me because I'm in between projects, so that's a free time for me. I can come rock and roll with you guys, because he primarily worked with like the local pop scene, and we were like a metal band. It was a fun vibe for him, and we get him in. He comes to our rehearsal, I think once, and a week before the show, he messages the manager and says, sorry, there is another band that is essentially offering me a better environment. He said, hey, you are paying me this much, I would rather have this much, so bye. And we're like a week to the show, and we have even announced like the band lineup and everything, but suddenly we have to change our plans, change the advertisements. Not only that, but also we have to find a bass player. We can't just go on the stage and, you know, press play on our like DAWs and hope that good things happen. It doesn't work that way. So we get lucky and we get a guy. We get lucky and we find somebody. I don't exactly remember from where. I think he was friends with my vocal coach at the time. I think. I could be wrong. But even she confirmed, like my vocal coach confirmed, that he's a good guy, and he really was a good guy. And we toured with him for quite a while, and until we couldn't do the shows anymore. But between this point and that point, there's a couple of funny things that I need to talk to you about. So between the time that we got our bass player and we did shows with him for a while and our final shows, I was also planning on releasing my own solo album. This would be my third album. This would be Identité, which is by far one of my more favorite albums, even though it had a very tragic ending, because it happened to be set to be released roughly around the time that I got outlawed and I got banned as an artist, as well as like the beginning of COVID days. So I was never able to release that album, but I'm just digressing at this point. So for that album, I said I have two choices. I can talk to our band's bass player, or I can record the bass myself, because for the first album I had problems with like the sample and the synth. For the second album, I don't remember. And for the third, I said, you know what, I kind of want to finish my job as a bass player, so let's just do it. So a friend of my brother has a bass guitar, and I tell him, hey, can I like borrow this for like 2 or 3 months, because I need to record the basses, and I'll be pretty efficient and pretty quick. So he lends me the basses. Don't worry, everything is good. We're chilling, we're vibing. So I start recording. I record all of the lines. Everything is pretty good. Everything is pretty vibey, and I'd say like 2 or 3 months before we go to the final production and like essentially the post-production, I noticed that there are some bass lines that I'd like to record again because of reasons, like the reason I'm gonna get into right now. So as I'm recording, as I'm trying to work on everything, I receive a message from the guy, from my brother's friend, and he says that, and I'm not kidding you right now, he says that I'm getting divorced and I have to pay a lot of money for this, and so I want to sell my bass. I'm gonna come get it to you in like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. All right, okay. People are immigrating, people are leaving the country, people are divorcing, and somehow all of them are linked to the bass guitar. All right, let's just be done with it. So we actually have to finish the songs with the bad bass, and if you listen to that album, you will probably hear that album has a lot of lacking or like sound characteristics in the lower frequencies, because we had to mix a lot of the annoying frequencies out of the album. But anyway, that is, I don't know, number 4, number 5. That is another example. Now, going back to the band and our bass player situation, obviously when we got banned and when we got essentially disallowed, we were announced that we were outlaws and we cannot work on music anymore, and blah blah blah. All of the stuff that you could imagine happen in a country with strict religious laws over music and everything else. That's what happens, right? We don't officially disband, but we get to a point that we can't work anymore. We start planning to record a second album, which doesn't go anywhere because I also leave the country a couple of years after it. But the bass player says, one day he messages our drummer, not even the rest of us, and he says, hey, I've decided to essentially escape the country. I want to get out of here any way I can, and bye. So he leaves, and I don't hear anything from him until 2 or 3 years later when I moved to France, and I'm talking to my friend, the drummer, and he tells me that our bass player told him that he almost got shot at the border by the police or whatever, and he probably is going to get back to the country. He's extremely traumatized, as you can imagine, and so the guy got shot. I guess, oops. I am missing a couple of people in between these things, but to me they are, I guess, the problems we had and the confrontations we had, I don't think are worth really spending video time on. So I'm just gonna move on. So I moved to France. I moved here. This is like 5 years ago by now, almost. And there's this thing happening in the city called a Fête de la Musique, or the Music Festival. It's like a big festival, happens every year. Actually, like the application should open within the next couple of weeks, about by the time I'm filming this. I'm filming this in April of 2026. So even though I had no plans for anything, a buddy of mine suggests we should apply for this. It could be a fun vibe, and so we do it. We apply for it. We get accepted. Everything is pretty good. And I asked the question from my friend, what are we gonna do? We have nobody here, it's just you and me. We got the guitars and we got the keys. We need everything else. Through some miracles, we find a bunch of cool people, cool musicians. One of these musicians is actually Vic, the guy who's been with me through thick and through thin for the past several years. We hit it off pretty good. We start working together. We get into a place that I actually asked him to come and play bass for my 4th album, Song Retour, which came out last year, and everything is pretty good. Everything is pretty awesome. One day he messages me and says, "Hey, I got this job offer from Mexico, so I have to leave by the end of May." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? We just had a good thing happening." Obviously, I'm not going to ask him to stay because of my erratic musical crazy plans, but it's just so funny that it always happens in the bass department. I guess it is what it is, and we have to learn to live with all of this stuff happening. So okay, no problem, Vic. You go do your things. I understand. Have a good life. And for my next album that I'm working on right now, as we're speaking, obviously I need to think about the bass guitar. What am I supposed to do? By this time, by the way, it's 20 years later. I have purchased everything. I have bought the DAW, I have bought the plugins, I have bought the samples, the banks, everything I need for a rock or metal album. And so it becomes a whole funny thing. Ultimately, I decide to, you know what? I am going to play the bass myself. The first time I couldn't because my uncle was blah blah. The second time I couldn't do it because my brother's friend was blah blah blah. The third time I couldn't do it because reasons. This will be the time that I will make bass guitar finally happen in the way I want in an album. So what do? I go to one of, I think the most known and popular and famous website that you could buy instruments on in Europe. And this is not like a sponsorship or anything, it's just, it's very famous. And I pick up a bass guitar that I think is going to be my missing piece for the album. I pick it up, I order it, it arrives like, I don't know, a week later. I actually made a video about it. I don't remember when it was. I think it was in February of this year. So the guitar arrives and I start playing with it. The beginning, everything is good. After like 10 minutes of playing, I noticed there's something wrong with this guitar. It is really strange. So I record a bunch, I play a bunch. I actually asked Vic to come over with his bass so I can have like an A/B comparison, because the sound of the guitar is pretty good. However, the real problem is there's a weird noise. There's like a weird hiss coming from mid to high range of the instrument. I contacted people at the website. I tell them, hey guys, this is my problem with this bass guitar. I'm pretty sure my cables and my audio interface and everything, I'm pretty sure everything is working fine. Do you think this is normal? Can you confirm? They message me back, and they tell me that, hey, send us a video. I make him a video. I'm making a pretty good video, and I demonstrate what is wrong with the bass. They tell me, yeah, there's a problem. No worries, you can return the bass. It's gonna be fine. So okay, this whole bass curse won't go anywhere. let's just get a new one, replace with this one. So I get a more expensive bass. I said maybe it's like a quality thing. The new bass comes in a couple of weeks ago, and I saw playing, and I realized that weird hiss thing that was happening is happening here, but like 10 times stronger. Granted, the previous bass had passive pickups, this one has active pickups, so maybe it's like a pickup thing. I messaged the guys, I say, hey, I hate to be that guy, I'm becoming that guy, but the frequency thing is bothering me, could you check it for me? Then they say sure, send us a video. Then out of curiosity, I opened the back cavity of the bass guitar, and I noticed that there's a loose wire in it, which clearly needs to be soldered to something. And I tell them, guys, this is a problem. Can you like give me ideas or something? Ultimately, through a couple of conversations, the decision is made that I get a third bass guitar. When the third bass arrives, I use the packaging for the third guitar to send the second guitar back so that they would reimburse me. They would like pay me, they would refund me. And I guess the bass curse is going to keep continuing until there's a solution. The new bass guitar I bought should be here within a couple of days. I think maybe a week from now. And I don't know. I thought that this whole adventure I've had with bass and with bass instrument and bass guitar, I think it would be a funny video story thing. So there we go. I don't know if this was anything fun. Thank you for walking along with me. I've been walking along the river for the past almost half an hour, 40 minutes. I have almost reached my destination. I hope you're having a lovely, lovely time, and I hope you're staying safe, you're staying sane, wherever you are, whenever you are. It's a very gorgeous day here in France. And if you could, please do the YouTube thing. It would be super awesome to get to that 500 subscriber finally, hopefully. I'm close. But above anything else, thank you for watching. If you're still watching this, I'll be seeing you very soon, and peace.